Caleb, seeing news today that Audie's going to be suspended for the game Saturday. How do you approach it without him being in the lineup?
Just like you approach every time a guy's not in the lineup. Obviously, you don't like it when a guy is suspended, and you move on quickly, though. There's nothing we can do about it, and it is what it is. And just like when you get an injury in training, these things pop up, suspensions pop up, international duty. You just have to be, as a coach, always prepared for what happens when you lose a guy in every spot. So when you lose a guy, it's not like there's a long discussion on how do you solve it. You're already prepared for how you solve it because you're preparing guys that aren't in the starting lineup to play every single day, to do the things you need them to do, to keep them ready, and so we move on, and we'll plug a guy in his absence. I was surprised there wasn't another player on the other team that didn't get a suspension either. That's what I'll say.
Is Maddox the likely person that you think would come in, or is that, I guess, an option that you're looking at?
Yeah, obviously he's an option. He's played up there. We have other options as well. So we'll make a decision. Obviously, I'm not going to give the lineup, but definitely he's an option. Ebo Bisi's an option. There's a few other options as well. Spria can play up there. So we'll look at it. We'll make the right decision. And like I said, we move on. We lose guys all the time. So we'll put out a good team, and confident we'll have a good performance. And I'm confident that we'll be in a position with a good performance to hopefully get a result.
Caleb, you said after the game last week that it was a learning opportunity, that Vancouver would be a similar team in some ways. After reviewing the tape, what were some of the lessons you're harping on this week in training?
Yeah, well, some weeks I'll keep my cards close to my vest a little bit more because I don't want to give, for obvious reasons, Vancouver all the things we're working on in training, the things that we need to do well to beat them. But we've identified key things in the game. Some of it's game management. Some of it's, on the attacking side. Some of it's on the defensive side. So we have some themes this week, some points of emphasis. They all relate to the last game and the next game. And, some weeks it really fits where the last game relates even more so to the next game, and this is definitely one of those weeks. So we'll have a good plan. We're going to have a good week of training. We've already had 2 good days, and there will be some correction. Some of that may be personnel. You always have to look at that. Some of that may be just in terms of how we're training, the themes of what we're looking to accomplish in the game. But like I said, I won't disclose those because that wouldn't give us the best chance to win the game. Now they know what we're looking to do.
With Darlington, we've seen him score from outside the box, and then last week almost score. You talked earlier about the left wing being a comfortable spot for him, maybe. Is that a result of that he can come inside and shoot from distance, and is that something you need to continue to encourage him to look for?
Yeah, obviously it's not about encouragement. He knows he's got to score goals, and, we encourage him all the time to do that. But what it does with him on the left is it puts him in a position where he'll find more shots with his right foot coming inside. It's difficult for wingers to get the right angle to score unless they get into a position where they can shoot. It's as simple as having a guy that can get in a position where he can shoot, and he's finding good chances, and he'll continue to get chances. And I thought he was very unlucky. He scores that goal. It's a 1-1. We get a result, and there are a couple others. In looking at the game, it wasn't the cleanest game. It never was gonna be. It's kind of a hard game for fans to understand in a lot of ways, but that was never going to be a clean game. In terms of us, passing the ball around for 90 minutes and playing, this beautiful brand of soccer. In certain matchups and the way that certain teams play, the way the game goes, that it's going to be a grind. There's going to be very few chances, and they found a chance, and we didn't. But you look at, very even game overall. It was a tight game. We actually had more shots inside the box than they did. So we actually got in better positions than they did to score. In saying that, we could have created more. And we've identified the ways that we can create more, and we're working on those things this week. But like I said, it was never going to be a clean game from the standpoint of it, being a game with a lot of flow and a lot of rhythm. So ultimately it went the way we thought it would go. I felt we could have created a little bit more in certain ways. But in saying that, they didn't create a lot more either. So the story is obviously about them stopping us. We stopped them pretty good too. It's a very good team. And, as much as people talk about their defending, they're a good attacking team. They just haven't scored goals. And they got a lot of numbers forward in the game, and we managed that side of things, pretty well, except for the one goal they found when we were out of balance. We got out of balance. It's one of the few times in the game that we lost our shape in the back six, and we got punished for it. The rest of the game, mostly they had shots from distance. So for me, it's a real positive overall in terms of how we defended them. But they obviously found the goal, and a bit more luck with Melia, obviously not making the save, or Maddox, having a first touch and a finish on the time he got in, or Adi's chance, which was probably the best chance either side had on the day, first half with a left-footed shot. Those are all really good chances, that could have been goals. But we definitely need to do a few things better to create more chances, and we'll do that this game.
Do you guys, it's a Cascadia Cup match, do you guys get more hyped up about these matches overall as a team?
No, we get hyped up for every match. I would say our supporters get more hyped, but we're hyped for every match. Every game is 3 points. Every game's important. Every game is a big game. We were extremely hyped last game, and so our process is our process. Every game is the same from the standpoint of we want to win and we need points. But there's definitely in these Cascadia games a bit more venom, obviously, and that's because of the supporters, and the pride, and we recognize that, and we feel that, and we take that on as well, and we want to, even though it's just 3 points, it feels bigger because of the supporters, and obviously we want to be the best Cascadia team. But really, we just want to be the best team, and we want to win the game.
Along those same lines, afterwards, after last week's game, Dom Dwyer said that he sees kind of an interesting kind of rivalry developing between you guys and Sporting. Do you see that happening also?
Yeah, I think you have rivalries when you have two good teams that face each other, and they're obviously in the Western Conference, and we've had some great games with them, and we've beaten them, a couple times on their home field. They've beaten us. I think it is 3 times on our home field. So I think you only create rivalries when you have 2 evenly matched games, and when you have results that go both ways, and when you have 2 teams that are fighting for the same things. They've won MLS Cup. We have as well. They're in the playoff picture. We've obviously faced them in the playoffs and knocked them off. And, so I think it's a byproduct of having 2 good teams that fight when they play each other. And you've seen that in the tight games. And like I said, we've gotten them, in the league at their place and in the Open Cup at their place. And, we got them 1 time here, and then they got us, 3 times here, 1-0. So you got to credit them, and we have a lot of respect for their team, the players, and the coach, and the way they play. And we know how the game goes. That's what I mean. It might have been a bit surprising to the fans how that went based on how we had played in the other games and the flow. I look at not so much what we didn't do. I look at just that's the way those type of games go. And Vancouver, when you look at it historically speaking, pretty similar. It'll be tight. It'll be a grind. They're definitely going to make it difficult in terms of being organized. There are things that they always do to try to exploit the way we play. And ultimately we're aware of those things, and we know how the game's going to go. And hopefully it goes in a way where we score a goal versus KC scoring the goal.
Vancouver has a little bit of a different look from last year, I would say. How does the introduction of Freddie Montero to that side change what you see from them, especially being as he's a guy who's got some experience with these Cascadia rivalry matches?
Yeah, I think he gives them a finisher, a guy that can score. But in saying that, Rivero had that in him. Obviously Camilo a few years back had that in him. So I think he's a guy that's fit in well because he's a good player. He's technical. He can score goals. He knows the league. So we got to be aware of him. We have to be aware of him for sure. But they have a good front four. I mean, look at Bolaños and Davies and Teixeira. Those are technical, quick players. But that's every game, every single game. There'll be no games where I come up here and say that the other team doesn't have any good players. That's the way that this league is set up. Every team has pretty good players, and every game is very difficult, and you have to be up for it. There are certain games that go differently than others based on the style of play and the system of play of the opponent.
Just another player to hope you could talk about was Laba, and also kind of just his matchup against Valeri.
Yeah, I mean he's a good player. He's obviously a tenacious, ball-winning type player. He's done well for Vancouver. He's done well in this league. So I think, obviously again we know them. We've played them a lot, and Valeri and him have played together against each other a lot. So I don't think there'll be any surprises in terms of what they look to do versus Valeri, and what we look to do to maybe move him around a bit and open him up.
And then you mentioned that you said that Liam Ridgewell would be available for the game. I was just wondering if he were to play, is it based on kind of the size that center backs prefer? Does that kind of put you in a position where Olam's going to be on the field, or is Miller or Olam still a potential center back pairing for Ridgewell?
Good questions. There's no exact science on these decisions. A lot of it's based on feel, current form of the player that might be coming in, the players that were in the absence of a player, like Ridgewell being out. It's tactical based on the opponent. So there's no exact science to it. If those decisions were easy, then anybody could do it. So ultimately, these are decisions I have to make every week, and I'll look at the last game. I'll look at the games prior to that. I'll also look at Vancouver. We know in Liam there's a body of work of what he can bring to the table, but we have to look at his form. We have to look at his fitness, his sharpness, and we're evaluating that this week. But if Liam Ridgewell is healthy and he's fit and he's sharp, he'll be in there. That's plain and simple, because he's a top player and he's our captain.
Orlando. Go one more with Orlando.
Coach, I know a loss is a loss, but does it feel differently when you lose at home, and can that change the attitudes and of your players moving forward into the next match?
Yeah, I think when you lose at home, you probably take it a little bit harder, just because you hate to drop points at home. Helps when you've had a couple wins on the road from on one hand, but it hurts because you also say that could have been an extra 3 points that we're banking, and you hate to lose the opportunity to bank home and away with points. But it's a long season, and like I said, in evaluating the game, it was a tight game. It could have gone either way, and We knew it was going to be that way. We knew, I said it at halftime, it was probably going to be a 1-0 game either way. Sometimes doesn't go your way, and you can't take it too hard, because ultimately what you need to do is move on to the next game, correct the things that you need to correct, do the things better that you need to do better. We're still at a point in the season where we're still improving. We were still playing with guys out. So there's still some revolving doors of players in and out in terms of getting that continuity that we want. So that's exciting, you know. But eventually we got to settle on a starting 11. Hopefully they can remain in there if guys are healthy and if the form is good. But for me, I look at every game at this stage in the season, and it's exciting to see that there's areas of improvement that we can still make, even though we're at the top of the league. That's exciting, you know, because if I was sitting here top of the league and saying, you know what, this is as good as it gets, this is the team that we are, you know, you'd probably be in losing a game a bit worried. I look at it going, there's a lot of things we can do better. Some of that's getting guys healthy and in. Some of that's training. Some of that's chemistry, building. Some of that is just having the experience of playing a game like KC, which was unlike any other game we played up to that point, and having the opportunity to learn from that. And then next time, Vancouver, if that game's similar, let's show that we can win that type of game, which isn't a pretty game. Let's be honest. It wasn't pretty for me to watch or the fans to watch, and it was never going to be, you know, because that's not the way they want it. And, you know, we have to kind of put the game on our terms, and we have to manage the fight of the game and the emotion of the game and the official and how it's being called. We have to adjust. So there's no excuses. We have to find a way to win that soccer game.
Can you describe the atmosphere and how it may be a little bit different for Cascadia matches versus your, you know, regular season matches?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a buzz in the stadium. You know, again, I don't think that there's ever a game at home here where our supporters aren't loud and proud and, you know, buzzing. But I think there's probably a bit more, slightly bit more energy in these games, for sure. So again, I think when you look at the history of the clubs and certainly in the MLS era, the history of the games that we've played, you know, we've had some battles, you know, right to the end. And when you look at Vancouver, they knocked us out. You know, they knocked us out. And when you look at the years prior, you know, there's been some years where we've kind of knocked them out or, you know, beaten them on the last day. And, you know, so I think that always adds spice just to the game because, you know, they ended our season last year.
Coach, just real quick, Guzman, it sounded like he had flu during the last game or some issue. How's he doing coming into this one, and is that an issue that he's still dealing with?
No, he had, so he came down. I don't know what's gone on, but we've had a few guys get the flu. Marco obviously missed, and, you know, a few other guys that had it that didn't miss, but his timing, he got it the night before the last day of training. So he missed the you know, game day -1. Woke up on game day, felt fine. Felt he was good to go. Our trainer obviously checked him, and you know, he was good to go. So we made the decision to play him, but he's fine.
How important was it to get some guys and runs like Peters in T2 on Sunday?
Yeah, really important. That was, I think, an ideal game, being at home and in the stadium and the day after. And we'd always planned to play some guys that hadn't got a 90. So I think it was really good, not only just to get them a 90 minutes, but also evaluate them and see how they look and see their sharpness coming back. You know, Vitas, for instance, coming back from an injury, see how he looks. You know, so I thought we saw some things and we got some fitness, 90 minutes match fitness out of guys that we needed to get.